Ja, er hat es nicht gesehen, ne?
Hast du gesehen? Oh, das wird immer schwärzer da.
Oh, aber das Nebengebäude.
Verfestung da.
Ach du Scheiße.
décidé sur l'AG, parce que spontanément il y a un homme avec un chasse derrière, voilà. Donc ça c'est plus le boulot de la VRI. On va voir son expertise.
Evo, to ti je to. Koji sam ja srećan. sreće. Evo sreće u pičku jebenu materinu. Evo, da sam ga stavio u auto, kaj bi se desilo? Jebe.
We want to go all electric by 2035. Is it practical to do it now?
Well, we can make this whole discussion easy with the two-letter word, no. There's no such thing, of course, as a zero-emissions vehicle. The real question is, where are the emissions associated with the electric car? Because what you do with an electric vehicle is you don't eliminate emissions, you export them somewhere else. You have to dig up about 500,000 pounds of materials to make a single 1,000-pound battery. It takes 100 to 300 barrels of oil to manufacture a battery that can hold 1 barrel of oil equivalent of energy. Just manufacturing the battery can have a carbon debt ranging from 10 tons to 40 tons of CO2. And the plans that are in place to increase the use of batteries will require an increase in production of minerals like lithium, cobalt, zinc. Demand for those minerals will increase between 400% and 4,000%. There isn't enough mining in the world to make enough batteries for that many people for their car.
When we're talking about electric cars, the battery itself is not really recyclable, right? This is nasty for the environment, is not really good, right?
If you want to talk nasty, it's the chemical processes to melt rock to make the battery. You have to literally melt rock with chemicals. The problem with the battery is a very complicated machine. People think it's like a box of simple goo. It's not. It's a complicated machine with thousands of parts. It's a machine just like an engine. You know, a steel engine is basically made up of steel and a couple other metals. You could just take it, crush it, melt it, and recycle it pretty easily. The battery you have to disassemble very carefully. If you Google up a picture of somebody trying to recycle a battery, they're wearing a hazmat suit. It takes half an hour, hours to recycle one battery. Then you have to figure out how to get all the chemicals separated. It's not easy. I wouldn't call it a nasty process. It's very difficult, very expensive. So the world's going to generate millions of tons, millions of tons of waste batteries, which will be very expensive and very difficult to recycle. We're already on that path.
Electric cars are having a moment.
Oh my God! Electric car sales are up 66%.
Anybody want to jump in the back?
And now my president says the future.
It's electric, and there's no turning back.
To make sure of that, some states are banning gas-powered cars.
Gasoline cars are driving us toward climate chaos. We actually have to stop using fossil fuel vehicles.
California's governor made that an executive order.
We will eliminate the sales of internal combustion engines.
Governments everywhere say they plan to do that.
The government has a vision for a future where all our cars will be electric.
But this is just magical thinking. It can't happen. In this video and the next, we point out 5 inconvenient facts about electric cars that politicians and green activists
take your oil!
just don't understand.
Electric cars are amazing.
Physicists like Mark Mills of the Manhattan Institute do understand. He says the trend to electric is a good thing.
But it won't change the future in any significant way with respect to oil use or carbon dioxide emissions.
That's inconvenient fact one. More electric cars will hardly dent oil use. If all of us bought electric cars, would it make any difference?
So the world has 15, 18 million electric vehicles now. It could go to 300 million, maybe 500 million vehicles. I don't think it'll get that many, but that's the aspiration. That would reduce world oil consumption by about 10%. That's not nothing, but it doesn't end the use of oil for the world.
Because most of it's used for what?
Flying airplanes, driving buses, big trucks. The mining equipment to get the copper to build the electric cars is all oil-fired, and it won't change because those trucks last 40 years.
And even if all vehicles somehow switch to electricity, there'd be another problem because despite what we've heard,
further, faster, cheaper, and greener.
Electric cars are not all that green. One reason is because electricity isn't all that green. I'm amazed talking to people who are all excited about their electric car and they say, and I'm not polluting. And I say, where do you get the electricity from? And they don't know. They don't know that most of America's electricity comes from fossil fuels, natural gas and coal. Just 12% comes from wind and solar. Yet auto companies tell us
electric vehicles in general are better and more sustainable for the environment.
She's a Ford engineer. She's not ignorant.
Well, actually, she probably is ignorant in the literal sense of the word. She's not stupid, but ignorance speaks to what you know. You have to mine somewhere on Earth 500,000 pounds of minerals and rock to make one battery.
And most of this mining isn't done in the U.S. American regulations make it nearly impossible. So it's done other places, polluting those countries. And worse, ingredients in batteries are mined in places that enslave people and use child labor.
An army of children are at the heart of the mining production, wearing no shoes and in the most wretched conditions.
Most Americans proudly driving electric cars don't know about this. They just don't want mining done near them. But wherever it's done, mining is a dirty business that adds lots of carbon to the air.
If you're worried about carbon dioxide, the electric vehicle is emitted 10 to 20 tons of carbon dioxide before it even gets to your driveway, before you drive the first mile and plug it in the first time.
Carbon dioxide produced by the mining and the manufacturing and the shipping.
Exactly. Volkswagen published an honest study. They point out that the first 60,000 miles or so you're driving an electric vehicle, that electric vehicle will have emitted more carbon dioxide than if you just drove a conventional vehicle in the first place.
You have to own it for a while before the electric part starts to win.
You have to own it for at least 100,000 miles, and then the electric part wins by some. So it doesn't get you a zero emissions vehicle. It's reduced the emissions then by 20 or 30%, which is not nothing, but it's not zero.
No, it's not close to zero. In our next video, more inconvenient facts about electric cars. Politicians make impossible assumptions about batteries and the electric grid. Hope you liked this video. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That'll make sure you get part 2. You think every car should be electric? Well, here are some inconvenient facts you probably don't know. This is part 2 of our series on electric cars. We keep hearing
the future of the auto industry is electric, and battery technology.
Battery technology. That's key because we need to store the electric power. But storing large amounts of energy in batteries has a problem.
Batteries are really lousy at storing energy.
They leak energy constantly.
They leak, and they don't hold a lot.
Physicist Mark Mills says electric cars are great, but
oil begins with a huge advantage over the chemicals that are in a battery. Oil has about 5,000% more energy in it per pound. And we see this in electric cars. Electric cars' battery weighs 1,000 pounds. That's what the battery weighs. It's replacing about 80 pounds of gasoline.
All right, you're talking today, but the batteries are going to get smaller and better.
They've gotten way more powerful, long-lasting, and affordable. All of this is just a prologue to what the next batteries are going to do.
I can't wait. Will they be something like the one Iron Man has?
Yeah, I can fly.
Iron Man with the power pack that he puts in his chest, or the Terminator.
Could happen. Things improve.
Engineers are really good at making things better, but they can't make them better than the laws of physics permit. That will never happen in any place except comic books.
That's inconvenient fact 4. Miracle batteries, powerful enough to replace fossil fuels, are a fantasy.
Because nature is not nice to humans, we store energy for when it's going to be really cold or really hot. The people who imagine an energy transition would want to build windmills and solar panels and store all that energy in batteries. But you do the arithmetic and you find out you need to build about $100 trillion worth of batteries to store the same amount of energy that Europe has in storage now for this winter. And it would take the world's battery factories about 400 years to manufacture that many batteries.
400 years. Politicians don't mention that. That leads to another problem the politicians don't mention. They say every car will be electric.
California will require all new cars sold to be zero-emission vehicles.
If that were somehow to happen.
That means a lot more electric vehicles drawing power from the grid.
But the grid is already limited. So limited that last summer, California's governor told people, don't use your electric car.
Asking residents to avoid charging their EVs in order to conserve energy.
Roughly speaking, you have to double your electric grid to move the energy out of gasoline into the electric sector. No one is planning to double the electric grid in California, so there'll be rationing.
Rationing. When there isn't enough electricity, cities will simply turn some of the power off. That's inconvenient fact 5. We just don't have enough electricity for all electric cars. And we'll have even less of it if we try to get all our electricity from renewable energy like wind and solar. Our president says
we're going to achieve a carbon pollution-free electric sector by the year 2035.
And gullible media believe it.
Power plants that emit greenhouse gases will go the way of, the dinosaur.
How much of America would we have to cover with solar panels and wind turbines to begin to do this?
Well, this is one of these areas that we have really precise knowledge. If you cover the entire continent of the United States with solar panels, you wouldn't supply half of America's electricity.
This is just math and physics. It's amazing that all these smart people and supposed leaders say these things. It's upsetting.
It really has been an extraordinary accomplishment of propaganda, and there's no other word for it.
Oil and gas is going to take everything we know and love.
Wind and solar, renewable versus oil and gas. It's almost infantile. It's really, it's distressing because it's so silly.
Because even if engineers invent much better wind turbines and solar panels and power lines and batteries,
you're still drilling things, you're still digging up stuff, you're still building machines that wear out, we're still driving big trucks, whether you drill a gas well or build a wind turbine. It's all the same, really. It's just big machines to make lots of energy for humanity. It's not magical transformation. In many respects, the parts that aren't different are worse, unfortunately.
The politicians are making us pay more to do things that hurt the environment. Europe going back to coal.
Burning coal in homes and open stoves because they're so afraid they're going to freeze this winter.
People fearful of winter shortages wait for days and nights to stock up on heating fuel.
Lines going for miles in Poland. These are people picking up coal to take home to be sure they won't freeze this winter. This is crazy. So what we've done now is had our energy systems designed by bureaucrats instead of by engineers. And what we're getting is worse energy, more expensive energy, and higher environmental impacts. That's what we're doing.
As for electric cars, I like them. Maybe I'll buy one. But I won't pretend it'll make me some kind of environmental hero.
There'll be lots more electric cars in the future, and there should be, because that'll reduce demand for oil, which is a good thing. But when you do the math, the arithmetic on the scales of demand to operate a society with billions of people, with 5 or 6 billion people who live in poverty we can't imagine, when you want to give them a little bit of what we have, the energy demands are off the charts big. We're going to need everything.
Everything includes fossil fuels. We hope you like this two-part series. If you want to help us make more videos like that, click that button.
È la gomma, è la gomma. È la gomma. Vieni qua, per favore. Dei ciccioni qui che lavora al McDonald's. Che lavora al McDonald's. Guarda che animale. È un'elettrica, eh? Sì, è un'elettrica. E dopo gli altri volevano stare ancora dentro. Para!
No.
Prima poco anche l'edificio. Il problema che c'è. Vabbè, adesso si può dire.
Oh mio Dio, ragazzi! Ma come cazzo sono questi qua?
Guarda come è, non già dire.
No, Sonia!
Sto arrivando da là.
Eccoli qua. Gli altri
No, sono fuori di.
万万不敢相信，在广东中山发现一片数十万辆二轮车的坟场，远远望去密密麻麻，犹如排好队的蚂蚁，场面蔚为壮观，数量之多令人震撼。其中有摩托车、电动车、三轮车，里面杂草丛生，万车堆积如山，这是多少打工人的血汗钱啊！可等待他们却是被销毁的命运，资源的浪费让人触目惊心，实在令人心痛惋惜。为什么不能发给需要的人呢？有朝一日还会被回收利用吗？他们又到底该何去何从？
I'm signing an executive order setting out a target of 50% of all passenger vehicles sold by 2030 will be electric.
This is a field of over 10,000 Neta V Chinese EV cars that are rotting away.
600多台啊，21年的，都是50公里以内啊，上牌新车。
And this man has just exclaimed that these BYD cars, all 2021 models, have less than 31 miles on them. Just like that field of 10,000 cars, they all have license plates on them, they're all fully registered, and they've been put away to rot. Yes, all of these cars have been left to rot. Why on earth is China throwing away entire fields of electric cars? By now, we've all heard that China's EV sales are outpacing the rest of the world. You'll see the headlines that say, China is now the leader in EV sales, and Tesla's got to watch out, and all this other nonsense. Well, guess what? It's true, the numbers are true, but what you're not taking into consideration is that China is the land of shortcuts and facades, and all of these cars that you're seeing in this field, well, they're counted in those numbers. Let me explain to you what's going on. Should be around... Yes, I love my Exter wallet.
This is really nice. I never expected this. And so I can chuck that big wallet of mine now. This is fantastic. Thank you.
So my dad really likes his Exter wallet that I got him for Father's Day. Because, well, right now Exter's having a fantastic Father's Day sale, which I hope you'll check out yourself. But you're probably wondering why my wallet was in a field. So falling off is just part of dirt bike riding. We all know it. You're riding in a field, in the woods, a hidden log, a hole in the ground. Something surprises you and all of a sudden you're staring at the sky. Well, luckily, dirt bikes are built tough. They're designed to fall and take a beating over and over again and still keep going. Just like Exter wallets. And man, oh man, do I put my wallet through a lot. I'm constantly wrenching on cars, I ride bikes, I travel all over the place, and it's so good to know that I can have a reliable wallet that's going to be by my side. Exter wallets don't only just look good, they're sleek, tough, and are packed with technology like an RFID blocker, so people can't scan the chip on your card. Now is the best time to grab an Exter wallet. They have a fantastic Father's Day sale and lots of Father's Day bundles over on their website. Go to shop.exter.com/SerpentZA and use the code SerpentZA at checkout to get a further discount. You will not be disappointed. Seriously, up to 40% off and you'll love it. Anyway, back to the show. You see the Neta Vs and the BYDs and the bigger brands that you see huge amounts of them just parked out to rot. Well, you see, that's because they need the numbers. In order to get subsidies from the government, in order to put out the sales figures that they've sold more than Tesla and that they're leading in EV production and EV sales, they need to have these fake sales. So BYD themselves will register them and put them on the market and then claim that they've been sold. And then, of course, they've got all those excess cars and they just stick them in a field and...
You can make history tomorrow.
But there's a bigger problem. There are even more car graveyards. And that has to do with this stupid investment scheme. Let me explain. In China, very often you get these fly-by-night investment schemes. Someone comes up with a good idea like bicycle sharing, for instance. And guess what? People jump on the bandwagon. They raise a bunch of investment capital. They start a company. We saw it go absolutely crazy with the shared bicycle schemes. We covered this on the China show where we showed these mountains of bicycles that had been discarded because the companies knew that if they pumped these bikes out, they'd keep getting investment. So they just kept pumping them out, even when it wasn't financially viable, because like a Ponzi scheme, you just keep getting your investment money in, and all of these bike companies pretty much shut down except for two. And a lot of the people that started these bike companies ran away with the investment money, never to be seen again. The bicycle sharing schemes kind of came to an end in late 2018. And then suddenly, and because the bicycle sharing investment scheme had now disappeared, people stepped in with a new investment scheme for shared vehicles. And this time it was for electric cars. Now there's this fantastic video, which I'm going to link below in the description. You can see it in the background here. But there's a documentary filmmaker who went and took drone footage of the shared bikes. And he made this video called No Place to Place in 2018, where he showed all of these massive mountains of the shared bike failures. But he then went in 2019 to film the fields of abandoned electric vehicles. So this is no place to place 2. And what you're seeing are these fields of shared cars. You see, the idea, like shared bicycles, would be that you have an app. And if you need a car, you can look in your app and see, oh, there's a shared car nearby, a shared electric vehicle. And you go and you unlock it with your app and you can drive to your destination and then lock it again. It's actually a very nice idea. It's not a bad idea at all. But of course, because it's all a money grab and it's a ridiculous scheme and a Ponzi scheme type situation in China, they just pump these things out without doing proper market research, without actually seeing if it was viable or not. And so the end result is fields and fields of thousands of hundreds of thousands of abandoned vehicles that are now going to rot. Now, this is where it gets insidious. These cars are electric vehicles, and that means they have batteries in them. So not only have you created a lot of waste by developing cars that are not going to be used and that are going to be left to rot, I mean steel and glass and liquids and chemicals and all the rest that goes into it, but the batteries. Everybody knows that these electric batteries that are used in electric vehicles are incredibly complicated and require a lot of very dangerous mining and chemical processes to create. There are human rights atrocities attached to making these batteries, if you want to look into it, child labor, slave labor, that kind of thing. But the detriment to the earth in mining all of these chemicals and all of the materials needed to create these electric vehicle batteries is just insane. So now you've created all of this environmental damage to make these cars, and then you just let them rot in a field. And of course, now they're going to create even more environmental damage because they're going to sit there for however long with all of these chemicals and batteries in them and all the rest of it. And they're going to pollute the environment further. So it's like a double whammy. Not only have you damaged the environment making them, but now you're damaging the environment by discarding them. And this is where China tricks everyone. You see, you hear about their great green initiatives, this being one of them. Oh, look, China's really pushing forward in renewable energy and electric cars. And if you just read headlines and you look at the numbers, etc., you would think China's doing a very good job. But what you're not seeing is the fact that China is actually destroying the earth at a rate never before seen. So you have to look past the facade, and people still don't seem to get this. China is an opaque country. They block all of this information from the rest of the world. You would not be able to just see this. If a company does something like this in the West, you bet your bottom dollar there's going to be a lot of eyes on it. A lot of big news outlets will cover this. There will be, heads will roll. People will have to reply to this. The companies would have to pay some kind of a fine for damaging the environment or for doing bad things like this, like an oil spill or something like that. We know that there are ways to deal with these things, but because we don't see these things in China, nothing gets done. These massive fields of electric cars just sit there rotting. China's green technology initiatives that you keep hearing about are mostly bullshit and a smokescreen to hide the fact that they're doing all sorts of environmental crimes. And remember, it's all about turning a profit. It's not about saving the environment or anything like that. It's a propaganda push and it's a money grab. They want your investment. They'll say, hey, look, invest in China, invest in these green initiatives. You feel good, you go and invest your money. It's being used for wasteful projects like this that really damage the earth. So think twice before investing in China. And if you want to find out more about what's going on in China, I'm talking about up-to-date, down-to-the-wire news, events, and everything else in between, come and join me for the China Show on Friday. This is my live show that I do with my business partner, Laowa86, where we cover what's new in China, the soft power hour, the Wu Maos, the haters, the everything else. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun. It's comedic, serious, and everything in between. So I hope to catch you there on Friday. And until next time, you know the drill, as always. Unlike wasteful Chinese EV companies and all this other nonsense, stay awesome.